Urban Media Today talks sports with Ray Porter Jr., Vince Butts, and Trevin A. Jones on Urban Media Today Radio.
It's game time!
Yep.
So just hit continue. All right. It's Urban Media Today Talks Sports, celebrating Juneteenth. Juneteenth was on Friday, today's Saturday, so we're going to extend the celebration. Got the whole crew back, the old crew, the new crew, the who crew, and everybody. This is everybody's here. Man, we got my man Vince Butts. We got Ray Porter Jr. We got my man Keith Platt Jr., Coach Craig William Hoyd. And we got Margo Hinton, Bill Neal, Kevin Cameron. Man, everybody came back. So we're going to talk about the impact of sports. Matter of fact, the Black community and the impact of sports, how sports impacted us even as youngins growing up, because I can remember some moments in sports that are so impactful that I still remember them to this day. And some of them motivated me, just like you all, to get into sports and do things in sports. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be an open dialogue. Again, we are celebrating Juneteenth. And for those of you who don't know what Juneteenth is, and I know everybody on this call knows what Juneteenth is. It's actually a celebration. Back in 1865, actually June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger landed at Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended and that the enslaved slaves were now free. But that was 2 years late because Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation back on January 1st, 1863. So it took 2 years for the news to get from the east part of the states to the west part of the states. But I think the real deal was that the Confederates in the South, they just didn't want the Black folks to know, held on to it as long as they could. Because it wasn't until after Robert E. Lee actually surrendered that troops then went into Texas and actually restored order, so to speak, and then let the Black folks know, yo, you don't have to work for these people anymore. You're free. So we're celebrating that. I think that's a monumental celebration that, man, I think it's overlooked at times.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree. Totally overlooked. But I got to ask you all this, though. Saying that, and this show being a celebration of Juneteenth, man, what's going on in the world right now? How it's like, how the timing is just incredible. Like back in like the 1960s, gentleman by the name of Gale Sayers had it rough off the playing field. Made a great relationship with Brian Piccolo, who was a white guy back in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, in the 60s. And Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo became like the first two Black and white roommates to room together for a National Football League team, the Chicago Bears. Crazy. The reason I brought that up is because Gale Sayers, with the topic that we're talking about, is somebody that I think I was like maybe all of 2 years old, maybe 2. 1965, Gale Sayers scored 4 touchdowns running the football against the San Francisco 49ers, caught a pass for another touchdown, and returned a punt for a 6th touchdown. For the first time, and has anybody scored 6 touchdowns in one game since 1965?
Not to my knowledge.
So that to me, and you might say, well, Trevin, if you say you were 2 years old, and I'm going to tell you guys, this is what I'm trying to do with even today's show. I had a Gale Sayers football card back in the 70s, and I knew who he was, so to speak. But then when I saw the film of him scoring the touchdowns, and then I saw Brian's song, which came out in the early 70s, I was sold. And I was like, wow, I got a Gale Sayers card. And it was his rookie card, his rookie football card. So when I saw that, I became a Chicago Bears fan. Right there.
Hey, Trev, is my voice being heard?
Yep, go ahead, Bill.
Well, since I might be, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but I might be the oldest one on this Zoom hookup. I saw Gale Sayers run at the old Pitt Stadium. Now, I'm 67 years old, and I was born in 52, so I lived through a lot of what some of you guys are seeing today. I marched in 68, 69. I marched with others on downtown Slippery Rock when I was in college. Now, downtown Slippery Rock, you should know, is about a block long, but we marched on it nonetheless. And we also shut down Slippery Rock University in the fall of 1971. So I've lived through some of this stuff. But look, to your point, Trev, Gale Sayers, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dr. J, some of those superior great athletes that millennials may not be fully aware of, Gale Sayers was the absolute truth. And his saying was, give me 6 inches and I'm gone. And if you ever saw him in person, it was a different thing then than television, black and white, what have you. But I'm not sure that today's technology really gives you the truth about Gale Sayers because of the old camera shots and what have you. But and I was young, but I saw Gale Sayers run against the old decrepit Pittsburgh Steelers at the old Pitt Stadium. And he was phenomenal in a way. If I could combine a couple different players, he had that Tony Dorsett lightning quick release, like here one step, gone the next. He had the evasiveness of he had kind of a stand-up style like Eric Dickerson, and he clearly had the feet of what's your boy in Detroit? His name escapes me.
Barry Sanders.
And he had that ankle breaking Barry Sanders stuff. I mean, he was truly phenomenal. And I'll just add this and be quiet a moment. When you talk about Jim Brown, I know a lot. First of all, when today's players still recognize Jim Brown as the greatest, that tells you how great he was. Here's a man that played 9 years, could have played 12 easily, quit on his own terms, never missed a game in 9 years, averaged 106 a game, and called his own shot. He decided that he was done because management gave him an order to return to camp as opposed to continuing making a film with Raquel Welch. Now, that in and of itself tells you why he didn't go back. But, if that's the order, see ya. But he did not go back. He cut his own career short. Understand not missing a game in 9 years when part of the objective of some of the white players was to take you out because you were black, let alone my job is to stop you, Ray Minsky and Dick Butkus and linebackers of that ilk. Let alone my job is to stop you, but now I also want to hurt you because you're black. And he never missed a game.
That's incredible. And you said 9 years, right? And he led the NFL once he finished rushing in just 9 years, correct?
Absolutely. And obviously, if he had played 11, 12 years, nobody would have ever touched it. I mean, if you want to really get into seeing, and let me just tell you this. When you watch Jim Brown run, it's unbelievable. You have to pull up some stuff on Jim Brown. Google Jim Brown. You won't believe the stuff he did. Not to forget to mention the fact he's recognized as the greatest college lacrosse player of all time. That was his side hustle.
Yeah, which is incredible. And like I always say, Ray Porter Jr., millennials, Google it, because you got to look up Gale Sayers. You got to look up Jim Brown. I'm telling you, I mean, those cats were just phenomenal. And I get excited when I talk about stuff like this because I'm looking at Margo and I'm thinking Cheryl Miller. Because Cheryl Miller in basketball for USC and then she was before her time. I mean, I have to say she was before her time because she scored 100 points in a high school basketball game. She went to USC and played with the McGee twins, led them to a national championship. And it's like, I don't even think – could Cheryl go pro? I don't think she could have gone pro when she came out of college at the time. I think she would have had to go overseas to play ball, if I'm not mistaken.
I think she would have hooped in the NBA, though.
Oh, she would have hooped. What, in the NBA? You think she could have played in the NBA? I don't know. That's Reggie Miller's sister. But I don't know. I don't know.
No. And let me say this too, Trev. I'm not sure about the rest of the people on the panel. But when it comes to tennis, and we talk about the Williams sisters,
rather watch them all day long.
Venus and Serena.
Right.
I watch more women's tennis than men's tennis, even though they have a lot of great players on that side.
true.
I don't think we have any great U.S. men's tennis players. They're more international. But when it comes to the tennis game, I watch Venus and Serena, primarily Serena, for a number of reasons. But number one, you know, she's the greatest of all time on that side of tennis.
Stevens is next.
She's the greatest of all
Say that
time.
again?
She hasn't broken the record yet. However, I think it's possible. I believe she needs one more Grand Slam to actually get it done. So maybe this year, we'll see what goes on. I know the U.S. Open tennis just announced that they will be playing. I believe it's in September.
Mm-hmm.
Coco Gauff and Sloane Stevens is the next girls up. The next African-American tennis players.
Oh, can I say something on that real quick? If you haven't seen it, Google Coco Gauff speaking at one of the protest rallies recently. She basically dropped the mic. She is picking up where other people before her, athletes before her, left off in terms of civil rights and systemic racism. Just like you said, that's exactly what's going to happen, Keith, for sure. Not just in tennis, but in fighting for Black people and their rights as well.
And fighting for women. I think she's going to stand up for women as well, because she's a very articulate speaker.
Okay, Margo, so we're talking about women having the opportunity to play the professional men's sports. What about football? There was a kicker that's been, her name was thrown around a few times over the last couple of years, kicking for an NFL football team.
A soccer player?
The soccer player.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I want to get your perspective on her kicking for an NFL team.
Absolutely. And let me tell you a little quick story. I believe absolutely she could do it. I coached a little, well, I shouldn't say I coached. I let the boys coach. But in my little middle school team this year, we played powder puff football, which I hate that name. I don't know what powder puff is, but we played football against other middle schools. And one of the girls from our soccer team, 8th grader, kicked a 40-yard field goal. And the football players said that she was better than every single player on their team. They were never even able to kick field goals because their kicker couldn't make them. So they always had to either go on fourth or punt. And
I'm not going to agree with you there, Margo.
She kicked a 8th grade, a 40-yard field goal. Consistently made it from 30 yards. So absolutely kicker. Absolutely.
All right. No, so hold on to that for a second.
I'm not going to agree with that. No.
All right, Coach. Hold on, Coach. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We had the end of the first quarter.
Let me get this out.
We had the end of the first quarter. Hold on. We're going to save it. Because the lady's name was Lauren Silberman. She tried out for the NFL team. She didn't make it. Coach got something he wanted to say. We're going to take a quick timeout. It's starting to get hot up in here. The end of the first quarter. Second quarter coming up. Urban Media Today Talk Sports. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Urban Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.
Urban Media Today Talk Sports, celebrating Juneteenth. You got Vince Butts, Ray Porter Jr., Kevin Cameron, Coach Hoyd, Keith Blatt Jr., Bill Neal on the line, and we got Margo Hinton starting fires, trying to put them out. What's happening in society now is crazy, because I want to tell you guys this. For those of you who don't know, I'm a gamer, love gaming. So I turn on NFL Madden 20. When I turn on Madden 20, this is what shows up on my screen. Black Lives Matter. The deep-rooted and systemic racial discrimination that is still unquestionably present towards the African-American Black community is unacceptable. Racism, whether for an individual or an institution, should not exist in our society. We stand with all of our African-American Black players, families, friends, colleagues, and partners in our commitment to fighting racism and social injustice. EA Sports. Does that not blow you away?
Tight. That's tight.
I'm a gamer, so I say that to say
it's still in it. It's still in it.
No doubt.
No, can I say something too? Go ahead.
It's a start.
It's a start. It's a start. What follows?
Go ahead, Margo. You were going to say something?
This is what I'm going to say, and this has been my belief system this entire time during all these protests. I am hopeful with everything that's happening. I've seen change in my own atmosphere as far as where I'm employed goes. I've seen some changes go, but a statement is not action. I want to know what you're doing behind the statement. We demand some things behind your statement. So if you're whatever corporation that you own that you have profited off of Black people, then instead of making a statement, do something. And then that's when we'll say, let's go. You actually did something. But your statement doesn't do anything for us. It makes us think, okay, maybe they're going to do something, but we want to see results. I want to see.
Now let me shine some light on that for you. And I appreciate and respect everything you just said because I truly believe what you just said. But check this out. Look at it deeper. I just said I'm a gamer. Do you know how many kids are linking onto this? And that's the first thing they're seeing?
Yeah.
That's changing a mindset. I had a conversation earlier with my baby talking about how we're conditioned. And it's like that starts the change of condition. Like you said, Coach, more. We want more. And I'm quite sure Bill will say we want more too. Since Bill has actually participated and seen some of the things that happened back in the 60s. And the millennials have no idea. That changes a mindset right there. That is one step towards and the next thing will be, and Margo, I'm with you on that. The next thing would be for me, and this is what the Trevin's about to come out, and I apologize if I offend someone what I'm about to say. I am tired of seeing, when I'm playing my sports games, I'm tired of me having to adjust somebody to be Black. I'm tired of starting with Caucasian players on everything. EA Sports is getting around to that. Other sports, they're starting to get around to it. They're putting the real people up there with the real backgrounds and all that, which I love. But initially, me being one of probably the second oldest on this call, initially, when you turn on one of those games, it was all white folks. You had to change it yourself.
That is true. I remember.
That's on the board. That's the next step. We got to be on the board. We got to be making decisions within the corporations. That's how it's going to change.
But that's the truth. I mean, let's think about this. Everything has a step and process to it. I mean, it doesn't end with a statement, but it's a beginning. And it's supposed to lead to the next levels. And it's a process, period.
I don't know. There's always a bait and switch. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because I've seen people make statements a million times and there's never been action. I've seen it in my own workplace.
But are you hearing what I'm saying, though? I said it's a process, though. I said it doesn't end with.
My experience, the process stops after the statement. So
the process. If I may,
let me ask Ray this.
Go ahead.
Ray, so didn't James Baldwin say that same thing? It's a process. I mean, that was like 60 years ago. I mean, how long is the process gonna take? I mean, we're gonna keep planting trees. I mean, I was talking to one of my good friends. Let me just say it like this: if you had a dog and that dog was tied up for 400 years, and you beat that dog for 400 years, and the dog was tied up, you know the dog is tied up. Okay. And even if you take the dog off the leash and untie the dog is still beat up and bruised. What you gonna do for the dog?
Okay, but how am I anything different than what y'all saying?
Walk around limping, beat up.
Right, but here's what I'm saying though, Margo. All I'm saying is it's in agreement with you. You said that first, then you need to get to the boardroom after the statements. That's all I'm saying. Just like the peaceful protests and the demonstrations, it doesn't end there either. But that's part of the process, and then you go to the board and you start seeing some legislative manifest and be put in motion. That's all I'm saying.
Let me step in real quick because Kev was going to say something. Hold on, Bill. Go ahead, Kev.
Okay, so keep in mind, everyone wants action to move forward, to make improvements so we could get the equality that we seek, so we could be truly free. But keep in mind, we all have a mind, okay? And you can't change actions unless you change minds. So first of all, you got to have the right mindset. Okay, that's the first step. And then you have the action. So with what Trevin just said regarding the game, it seems as though the mindset is changing. And when you have a mindset change, then you could get the appropriate action. So that's what I wanted to say.
And hold on. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I know that we're all in the same direction, and my presumption is that we're all, well, maybe I'll just speak for myself, but presuming others feel the same way, just filled with so much emotion and anger and hostility and wanting to do and fix. But to the coach's point, there has to be a starting, and then to Kevin's point, there has to be a process to get to the finish line. Now, the finish line's a long way away, but again, I'll give you a recount to Kevin's point, which is very important, that the mindset to do. When I grew up in a small town in Denora, Pennsylvania, about 60 miles from here, on the other side of Clareton. My grandfather raised me my first 5 years of my life. My dad was in the service. My mother was in the hospital. My grandparents raised me. Literally 100 yards from my grandfather's house was a swimming pool that blacks could not go in. Literally. We had to go another half mile to a place in a park from that point where they dug out a hole, concreted it, and let rainwater fill it up, and that's where the black kids swam. So I go back to it literally being racist and segregated in the whole nine. But to Kevin Cameron's point, even the mindset of the black people in Denora wasn't in position to change something as simple as that. Now, it may not have been because they were not gallant or brave or strong. My grandfather worked in the steel mill. He's as strong as they came. But where was the mindset for change? So to Coach's point, it's got to start somewhere. And Margo, your point is well taken too, except that there has been considerable change in our lifetime. And I've lived it. There's been a lot of differences because you ain't going to find nothing like that in Denora today. And my guess is, and my hope is that, to make my point finally about where we're at, they're going to serve both them boys up because they see the power that has come forward. The boy that killed Floyd and the boy that killed the young man, the brother in Atlanta, they're going to get served up on a platter because white people now know that something bad will happen if we don't do the right thing. And I'm not saying on this network that I'm advocating for violence. I'm simply saying the evidence has been put forth, and my prediction and my hope is that they serve both them cats up. And the other part of it that makes it work now is that when white people get in the march, when white people get in the move, they can't turn the hoses on you then. They can't put the dogs on you then. When you got them white people marching in there, that's the biggest change that I've seen in my lifetime regarding this kind of situation. The number of white people that have joined this thing is unprecedented, and that changes it.
Perfect. We're going to take a quick break. It's Urban Media Today Talk Sports. I know everybody wants to talk. Hit a hot button, hit a hot topic. I got something I want to say about that, too, in a second. We're going to take a quick break. It's halftime. Goes that fast. We're celebrating Juneteenth, and we're putting it all on the table. Urban Media Today Talk Sports. Kevin Cameron, Bill Neal, Vince Butts, Keith Platt Jr., Margo Hinton, Coach Hoyd, got Ray Porter Jr., and I'm not going to say my man Trevin A. Jones like I did last time. And Trevin A. Jones. We celebrating Juneteenth, got the whole crew, the old crew, new crew together, and we're having a good time and dropping some knowledge. And going into the break, we were talking about a process for change. And we're seeing a process for change like we haven't seen before. Bill had alluded to him being around and actually living through the 60s. I lived through the 60s too, but I was a baby. So I really didn't. Actually, I saw and understood, but it took me until the 70s to really understand what was going on.
How many of you know that there was once a swimming pool at Kennywood Park that blacks couldn't swim in?
Well, I knew there was one. I'm not even from Pittsburgh.
Are you
so
kidding me?
I know that.
Out there.
Yeah,
Kennywood Park had a swimming pool in the back in the day, and blacks could go into the park and not into the pool.
I believe that. There was I'm from the eastern side of Pennsylvania. There was no Keith. There were pools like that all over, brother. It's just not about that. Yeah, but that was all over. That just wasn't here in Pittsburgh in one area. That was all over the country, Keith.
You're right.
So
You're right. Yeah.
with you being the youngest on the show, Keith, it was real. That's real talk. Like I remember in my lifetime, that there was pools that black folks couldn't go to. So it's crazy. That's why I say when millennials go to this social media and you're looking at Google and everything, make sure you talk to your elders about what you're seeing so that you get the real deal. Because even on social media, some of that can be edited out. And that's what I'm not liking when they edit out things in sports, especially when it comes to somebody like Barry Bonds or Barry Bonds, like the home run king, putting an asterisk beside his name. You can't cancel that out. Reggie Bush with USC. You can't take away the fact that he won a Heisman Trophy, even though you tried to take his trophy and you made him not relate to USC for 10 years, things like that. Margo, getting back to your point.
Hold on, Fred. Can you take away OJ?
No, you can't take away OJ. You know I was getting ready to get offended. What are you talking about? I remember the day I saw OJ rush for over 2,000 yards in the season. Are you kidding me right now?
I was like 2 when that happened or something like that. You know?
Kevin, can I clarify my point?
Oh, yeah, but what I wanted to say to what you said real quick, if you don't mind. It takes a process. You said you want to see action. Okay, what happened, and Bill and probably Kev too, and maybe even Coach, they'll be able to understand what I'm about to say to you. In the 60s, and you probably know too, 60s and the 70s, you had the protests happen, okay? You had action. You had us taking action. You had leaders. In the 80s and the 90s, our babies, and even I was in college in the 80s, we actually enjoyed the fruits of the labor from the 60s and 70s and got lazy. Mm-hmm. Yes, you had apartheid in the 80s, but you didn't have the action that you saw. You didn't have the galvanization that you saw in the 60s and 70s.
I don't
what
agree
I'm saying,
Trev, I don't agree, man. I don't agree, Trev.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Because we had in March, I think it was 94 then.
94. Okay, but I'm talking about when I was in college in the 80s, when we had apartheid, we had some action, but we didn't have the galvanization that we had in the 60s and the 70s before that. Now,
what happened in the 90s? What happened in the 80s, Trev?
What do you mean
what happened in the 80s? Mass incarceration.
Definitely.
Mass incarceration.
But I hear that, Coach, but what I'm saying is we as a people, we didn't have the same leaders we had prior to that. You were in school at the same time. We were in school at the same time, it sounds like, Coach. Okay, cool. But we didn't have the leaders. We didn't have the leaders that we had prior to that. Now, my point is this, Margo. You get action, but it's up to us as a people that you've seen most recently displayed to step up and demand and pursue that action.
We were talking about a specific thing, a company that made a statement. That's specifically what I was talking about. I am probably, I don't want to say it, but I'm extremely heavily involved right now in the protest movement as it stands. Like extremely heavily involved, can't go into much detail about it, but I'm extremely involved. So in terms of being hopeful and being active and being an activist, I know 100% that the reason why things are changing are because of people like me and other people that are willing to stand in the gap and be individual leaders and not wait for leaders, national leaders, to take us anywhere. People are finally standing up, led by the millennials, I believe, that are willing to make changes now within organizations, within our government, and everywhere across this country. But we were talking about companies and what they can do. I don't believe they need a process. They got our money. We're spending our money with them. They know what they need to do. I believe white people are smart, and we don't need allies. We need accomplices. I stole that from somebody else. We need somebody in the fight with us. We don't need you to be an ally. I feel like the worst person for me is the person who allows systemic racism to go on. Those are the well-meaning people in organizations that allow things to go on that they know are happening and refuse to do anything about it. So within organizations where we're spending our money, I don't think we need a process. They know what to do. There's books, there's documentaries, there's people in your organizations that work for you. Get those people together, get a plan of action, see it through. Now, as individuals, as people, as communities, we have to go out and make these people accountable. That's what I'm talking about.
But Margo, but let me just offer this, and everything you just said, Margo, I agree with. But I also want you to not forget, Congressman John Lewis and Magic Johnson and Arthur Ashe and Bill Neal and Kevin Cameron. We've been fighting. I mean, this ain't no all of a sudden there's a fight. There's been a fight going on steadily. You know, when this. Well, but I'm just saying, I feel your passion, but don't forget the shoulders we're standing on. Don't forget that.
Come on, Bill.
Well, but I'm just saying, I agree with all that you said. I'm just offering that we see a lot of young people that have risen to the fight, and that's great. And us older people have been waiting for the younger people to come, actually. So when you here's something simple that an older woman mentioned to me. She was like, Bill, but a 5-mile march, that's a serious hike. So even in the simplest forms, we've been waiting for young people and need them. But there's been a steady fight for Kevin Cameron in the military. I'm sure he had his issues. For anybody on this panel, I'm sure we can all recount our issues. The 11 times I've been pulled over because I had a nice car. And I remember every episode, every situation. All those things have been fights. Obama. All those things have been fights steadily. But I think the difference now is, as I alluded to before, the consciousness of America has been switched on due to that violent visual that they saw. They saw the violent visual. It was even different than the visual of Rodney King, the shadow darkness of Rodney King being beat. It was kind of like a movie. But in this disgusting manner that this brother was killed, the entire world saw it, and I think that's the switch to set this thing in motion. Like, you know what, this is done. We're not handling this anymore.
I think at the same time, though, it was the fact that people were home and they weren't too busy. They couldn't look past it because everybody was home. The pandemic caused, I believe, this
perfect storm.
tipping point.
Perfect storm.
Yep, it was a perfect storm. Coach, you had said something earlier that you said you disagree with the leadership that I was speaking about in the 80s. Go ahead. Because I think I cut you off.
No, because I know a lot of my friends in leadership are in custody doing 25 years, 30 years. You know, that's the way they basically systematically put us off the protest, put us out from doing protests and sit-ins, because they just enacted laws and pretty much just created these businesses, these jail businesses, and all the blacks. I mean, there's so many black males in jail that are smart, educated, that want to be activists, that want to advocate for other young black males and females. It's incredible. But I want to also say this, Trev, is that I kind of see if you get a season, if you say, okay, I know if I plant roses, I'll get roses this part of the time, this part of the year. Well, I'm kind of seeing, kind of equating, 1863 to 1865 is kind of what we're doing right now. This might be a reach from you guys, but I'm just saying, like, when blacks joined the Union Army, that's when we were able to systematically destroy racism. Okay, and the whites were already part of the Union Army, but when blacks came in, and you guys coach me up, okay? Coach me up. When the blacks came in, that's when they started to take over the South. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I wouldn't say systematically destroy racism. I believe we went farther down the path, excuse me, to get rid of racism and to equality. We're always going down the path. So as many of us said earlier, we have a long way to go. And to be honest with you, in 2020, even though we've made many gains over the last 100 years, but we are currently regressing. So a lot of the gains that we've made based on, the Trump administration and everything that many people in our society are allowed to do, and the people he appoint, we're going backwards.
I'm not going to agree with that because we're wealthier. We have more wealth. Wealth gives us freedom.
Some of us.
No, wealth does not give us freedom. I disagree with that. Wealth does, and it's proven. You look at Oprah Winfrey, okay? You look at Tyler Perry, some of the richest people in our society, okay? They're not totally free. they'll tell you there's a big difference. You know, someone like a Bill Gates, which the money is different. I get that, but still.
But they're employing, but Kev, they're employing black people. They're hiring blacks.
Again, we're in a better position, but we're regressing. That's the only thing I'm saying. And, you know,
I feel you all. And getting back to what Margo was saying, because she made excellent points, and I'm on board with everything you said, Margo. I'm gonna bring it back to sports. Coach, we're making more money, but we're not free. We still are not in the majority when it comes to the wealth. There are some of us that are few that can say we're wealthy now, and then there's millions of us who are still struggling, who are like, yo, wait a minute. So for those of us who I'll call the talented 10th, W.E.B. Du Bois, I'll call you the talented 10th. If you're wealthy and you're part of the talented 10th, it's time for you to reach back and bring everybody else forward. Now, what Margo was alluding to, and I commend you, Margo, for being part of the protest and participating, what you were alluding to was the action. We all said the same thing. I think we said it different ways. And I think that we were just emotional trying to get our point across. Back to sports. LeBron James will tell you, I'm making money. LeBron James will tell you, I'm still not free. Michael Jordan will tell you, I'm making money. Arrogance aside, Michael Jordan will tell you, I'm still not free. Muhammad Ali, when he was here, was making millions of dollars. Lost his money, made it again. Muhammad Ali will tell you, I'm still not free. Magic Johnson will probably tell you right now, I'm still not free. So, and that's why I think everybody's coming from, yeah, we still have to make those strides. So the thing is, and I feel the passion and I love it. What Kevin's saying, from what I get, is the fact that we've regressed because we have a president like Donald Trump as a president after Barack Obama. Not because it's a white man, but because we as black people did not continue that momentum that we had 8 years ago.
Come on, Trev.
Okay.
Come on, Trev. We spent $1.3 trillion. That's the black economy.
Some of us, Coach.
I think the dollar circulates in our community something like 12 minutes. I can't remember what it is.
Maybe
In
twice,
other
Margo.
communities, it might be a month. It might be a week. I'm exaggerating the 12 minutes, but I think it may be something like that, you guys.
On that note, if I can say quickly, you hear that a lot, okay? And I disagree with that. And what I mean by that is you take a historically black community such as the Hill District, and people, the old timers that lived in the Hill District of the city of Pittsburgh would tell you they couldn't go downtown. So if you had a business in the Hill District, you had a captive customer base. I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own businesses. I do not want a captured client base. I want to be able to sell beyond my walls. Okay, and that's why I disagree with it.
I don't disagree with that, but I think you should also support your community that's trying to, what you guys talked about, be free.
Yeah, you should. But I would like to call somebody out from a sports GOAT standpoint. Can I do that, Trev?
Yep, let's do it after the break. It's the end of the third quarter. We're going to go into the fourth quarter. It's hot up here. I'm sweating. We're going to come right back with more of Urban Media Today Talk Sports. We're celebrating Juneteenth from a different perspective. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Urban Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.
Urban Media Today Talks Sports. Kev, you were making a point right before we went to the end of the third quarter. Go ahead, go for it.
Oh, Trev, what I'm about to say, I'm about to call somebody out. And like I said, he's a GOAT of his sport. And I'm really hurt because I don't want to call this guy out, but
I hope it ain't who I think it is. Don't call
I said his name.
I'm very disappointed in this guy. He's one of my favorite sports people of all time.
Who?
And this Tiger Woods.
Oh.
Where's Tiger Woods? And the comment he made that he was forced to make with all this social unrest was very lame. I'm not sure if you all saw the comment that he put out. Very lame. And I think that that's something we need to do when our own people are not doing what they should be doing. We need to call them out. And I'm serious about that. Here's a man that can make such a big difference by his influence. And he's not leveraging his influence. And I'm gonna go a little religious here, okay? Because we all have blessings. And this is me. I don't believe that God provides us with blessings to keep for ourselves. So if I'm in a position to help other people out, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna help other people out. And I'm very disappointed in Tiger Woods. And you know what? I have cut my sports people that I really liked before. Terry Bradshaw's one. I'm a huge Steelers fan, but based on his craziness, I cut him a long time ago. I don't want to have to cut Tiger Woods.
What did he say?
Don't cut him off, Kev.
What he said, Kevin. I don't know what he said.
Don't cut him off. Don't cut him. Let me tell you.
Somebody tell me what he said.
Go look up the Tiger Woods Academy. Go look up all the black kids that he has in the Tiger Woods Academy.
Exactly.
That's the issue. He wants to do things behind closed doors, the soft stuff. I mean, most pro athletes have different academies and they contribute in different ways.
But I used to think the same way, but I sort of changed my tune because I feel like everybody can't serve in the same capacity because we don't all have the capacity for the same thing. So some people just, it's not in their nature to speak up. And other people there are, like LeBron, it's in his nature to be out in front and to speak up. I don't know if we can push people out into the forefront, but
you don't have to.
But just, he shouldn't go against what's happening. But at the same time, I don't think he has to speak up.
Well, and I don't think, but to Kev's point and to Coach's point, there's an old saying, freedom ain't free. Now, I think you have to qualify in two columns. What kind of freedom are you speaking of, and who are you speaking of? Clearly, well, I agree with Coach in that we are eons ahead of the game where we were. None of us want to go back to 1945 or 1952. So we're way ahead in that respect. Secondly, I would be hard pressed for you to tell me one thing on this planet that Oprah and Jordan can't do if they want to do. So they're free in that regard. Now, are they subject to be stopped if they're driving a nice car at midnight? Yes, but that's not a definition of freedom. That's a definition of racism or bigotry. So, yeah, we're free, and we're freer than we've ever been. And I'll conclude my point here with this. I'll use me at the bottom of the ladder to make a point. In comparison, I'm the cat at the bottom of the ladder. For as much as I've done and tried to do, I have people that challenge me or question me the same way Kev just questioned Tiger. Right. So to Kev's point about religion, my contention has always been everybody didn't like Jesus. Everybody ain't going to like me. You can always find something to challenge, but we don't know how much money Tiger's given, and we don't know about it. Just like in that documentary with Jordan, come to find out, he didn't make that bold statement about everybody wears shoes. He was on the plane, as he said, talking to Scotty and Grant, and somebody took that and ran with it. He wasn't on a platform saying everybody buys shoes, so I'm not down on Republicans. Then he turned around and gave whoever that person running for office was $2 million. Now we just find out he just gave away $100 million. So I try not to challenge the things that we don't really know. Now, if somebody gets out there and makes a bold, stupid, ridiculous statement, that's different, something we can clearly challenge. But what I want to know from you, Trev, is Keith still on with us?
I'm right here.
Hey, Trev, I just want to get this in, and I'll shut up. Keith called me earlier today and asked me if I was going to ask Kevin, is this the time he's going to apologize for being wrong about Kaepernick?
Colin
so,
Kaepernick. I knew that was coming from somewhere. We'll get to that in a second.
Well,
We'll get to that in a second.
Hey, Trev, Kev has a national forum now to say he was wrong about
Kevin,
Kaepernick
We'll get to that.
because me
I didn't even know about
and
that.
Keith tried to tell him. Me and Keith tried to tell him he was wrong. Now maybe he can step
And
forward and say, you know what, fellas, I was wrong.
And there goes Coach with the Kappa hat on because Colin
Oh,
is a
man,
Kappa,
let's go.
Kappa Alpha Psi. But you know what? I got some help for you though, Kev. But I understand. But before we get there, I know Vince wanted to say something. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is we do have to hold people accountable, but I think it's wrong for us to try to dictate how those prominent people choose to make their voice heard or make change. I think they do things that aren't always in the public, and we don't always hear about those things because they're not always publicized. So I think it's unfair in some ways to criticize athletes and prominent people when we don't think that what they do aligns with how we think they should do things.
I want to make sure I'm not going to take a Greek, but there was a really prominent man named Dr. Martin Luther King, which was an alpha, right? But he had a really good sidekick, Ralph Abernathy. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. I mean, Abernathy wasn't out there in front, but Dr. King was out there. But they both were working towards a common goal.
Right. That's what's up. Yo, Ray, did you have something that you wanted to say? Because I know you were trying to get in there.
I was trying to remember, but excellent points, everyone. I was trying to think. Oh, along the lines of what Margo said, it's important that everybody just knows their role, what's going on. Like you said, some are meant to be in the forefront, some to be in the background, some will give silently. I have no problem with that because knowing your role is where you're going to be most effective, knowing your purpose.
So
Trev, can I say something about Juneteenth?
Mm-hmm.
Hold up.
Sorry.
Hold up. Go ahead, Kev.
Are we hypocritical then? Because a lot of things we say and we've been saying, such as if you're silent, you're part of the problem. Silence is violence. Okay, are you all familiar with those slogans? So
Yeah.
are we now saying since Tiger Woods has been silent, he's not part of the problem?
No,
But he hasn't been silent.
That's in the
There's been
face
action.
of racism. We're saying if you're silent, not in the face of,
This is the guy that golfs with Donald Trump. He has Donald Trump's ear. He can make a difference with one phone call.
I don't know if anybody can make a difference with Donald Trump because that man made the claim. Hold up a second. That man made the claim today. Hold on. That man made the claim today that Juneteenth did not become popular until he referenced it. So I don't know if anybody can make sense with Donald Trump. Go ahead, Coach. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well,
Yes,
maybe in the white community, maybe we can't pop in the white community. You're right about that.
We had Juneteenth popping years ago, man.
What's that?
I said we had Juneteenth popping years ago, before he even became president and all that. That was just
Before he
stupid
was
of him.
born. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I was just going to talk about, from a standpoint of the athletes. Okay, I mean, you saw Chubbard Herbert do something real that was I loved it when he stood up against the coach from Oklahoma State, and that's the power of athletics in our country. That's the power that we have that we have behind. First of all, that $1 billion business called NCAA Sports, and all the networks, all the advertisers, they all said, "Be quiet, E.F. Hutton, hush, he's talking," and that's the power that we have. And we have to embrace it. We can ride that wave while we can, like Cap did. Cap was the seed. Now Hubbard now is the fruit. Now if we keep on cultivating this tree, we'll have some shade we can all sit in and have a Juneteenth picnic, maybe, huh?
All right, so what we're going to do is that's the end of the game, but we're going overtime. We got to go a sudden death period here because we're talking sports, talking Juneteenth, we're talking black people, talking my people. It's going to be Urban Media Today Talk Sports. We're going overtime. So Colin Kaepernick said to us 4 years ago, people, listen, I'm tired. I'm going to take a knee because we need to pay attention to what's happening. It took us 4 years to catch up to what he was talking about. Regardless of how he did it, it took us as a society, and I'm not talking about black folks. I'm talking about it took us as a society
to finally say, okay, and the death of George Floyd, to say, okay, I see what you're talking about. Now, and I'm going to shut up in a second, y'all, so I just want to just put this out there first. Now you have Roger Goodell saying that football teams should allow Colin Kaepernick back in the league. You have the president of the United States, who has been the biggest racist I've ever seen in my life, say, yes, if he should be in the league if he deserves it, if he's good enough after 4 years, whatever that means. Right, got you. You got Mark Cuban talking about he would kneel, I think if we were acting right, if it's in the right way, that type of thing. I'm opening the floor to y'all. Because, I mean, Colin started, as far as I'm concerned, what Colin did, he was right on point. And go ahead, Kev.
The first thing, Trev.
See, we're about to fight. I see it
coming.
coming.
Sign Colin Kaepernick, and they better go out and sign as many quality quarterbacks as possible, because unfortunately, with this COVID-19 situation that we're dealing with, I believe that, you know, this is the first time you're going to have people, and it started already with Zeke Elliott, and I know someone from a number of players for Houston, and I just heard today a player from Denver came down with COVID-19.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
I believe if the season does start, that backups will be very important. So that should give the teams another incentive to go out and sign Colin Kaepernick.
Throw his name out real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm listening.
Remember this name, Easton Stick. The reason why I say Easton Stick's name, that's who Colin Kaepernick is going to have to beat out for the LA Chargers to make this work. Now, I don't know if this is a gimmick. I don't know if this is for publicity, but the Chargers is keeping him. Yeah, they bringing him in for a workout, but he's not going nowhere. He's not going to let y'all know that now.
And let's not forget about another quality African-American quarterback that's available as well, my man Cam Newton.
Yep, I got you. All right, so what we're going to do is go around the room real quick. All I want you to do is tell me what player, what team, what had the most impact as far as your love for sport team. Who would you talk about? Vince, I'm going to start with you first.
I actually don't have one. I have a few that span different decades. Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, Colin Kaepernick, Chris Jackson, who changed his name to Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Those guys just made a stand. And so for me, watching some of the greatest athletes in their respective sports take a stand for things that they believe in, that to me has stood out in terms of sports and where we are today. I think that what we've all discussed, we want accountability, we want equality, we want freedom, we want justice, we want to reinvest in education and erase ignorance.
Celebrating Juneteenth. I love that, brother. All right, Ray Porter Jr., what you got, man?
Yeah, for me, there's so many, like Vincent said, but I think about Jackie Robinson, think about what he represented, and just why he was called upon to break the color barrier, not just because of his ability, 5-tool player, but Branch Rickey, the general manager, said he would be the best to be able to deal with the scrutiny that was coming, because he was going to get booed, and he did. He was going to get called the N-word, and he did. But he still performed and became the Rookie of the Year. And I also like the fact that Pee Wee Reese was willing to stand up with him publicly, stand up with him in the dugout, and their friendship. But I like also what he did. It's just his impact in the community as well, for the NAACP and other areas to fight for his people as well. So he definitely, in my opinion, put the definition of well-rounded player in perspective.
Nice, celebrating Juneteenth. Keith Flat Jr., what you got, youngin?
I'm going to go with my man, Captain Jack, better known as Steven Jackson. I think what he's doing right now is tremendous. It's remarkable. I think he's like the new athlete black leader. I really like his movement. I like everything he's saying. I mean, although I still think that they should play the game against what he's saying, but other than that, I think he's been strong. like just far as the movement, and I really like what he's doing, and I think we're gonna remember him for a long time. And like he's like top dog to me now. Salute to Steven
Wow.
Jackson.
And he called George Floyd twin, right?
They look like twins, literally.
Yeah, he called him twins. Yep.
Yeah.
Keith Platt Jr. celebrating Juneteenth. I appreciate that. Margo, what you got?
Yes, I'm celebrating Juneteenth. I'm gonna go with people that actually, came up watching, and so I'm gonna go back to what Vince said with Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. I love that brother back in the day. I remember I had his Nuggets jersey, and I wish I had it right now because I would sport it. I have no idea what happened to it. So he was definitely somebody that I looked up to. And then Muhammad Ali. I still listen to Muhammad Ali speeches to this day. I have him on my phone every now and then. I'll listen to his speeches. So Muhammad Ali and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf are my two big time Black leaders. And I also like Steven Jackson. I've been following him, and he's doing great things too. Thank you.
What's up? Celebrating Juneteenth. Bill Neal, you on the phone. What you got, Bill?
Hey, man, I got three things real quick. Number one, you're all invited to my cookout next month. I'll be in touch with you about it. It'll be safe and sound. Number two, you cannot have this conversation without the greatness of Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali, and Jim Brown. They captivated the world. They grabbed the world by the throat and demanded their attention. You all know that Jackie Robinson's brother was in the Olympics. The DNA in that family was real special. And baseball was not Jackie's best sport. So Jackie Robinson, as Rev said, what he had to deal with off the field, what he had to deal with going to the park not knowing if he would be killed coming or going, that kind of mental anguish he had to suffer through and still be dominant. Look, Muhammad Ali would tell you when he gonna knock a cat out and do it, and was the most recognized figure in the world with the Zaire and turned the world upside down. Nothing like him before, may never be again. And of course, I alluded to Jim Brown because what he did was not just tell ownership he wasn't coming to camp. He took a stand as a Black man and said to sports in this country, said to corporations in this country, said to Hollywood, you will not tell me what to do.
That's what's up. Bill Neal celebrating Juneteenth. Kevin Cameron, what you got, Kev?
Hammer and Hank. Hank. Okay, the home run king before the home run king of Barry Bonds. And that's my boy as well. But Hammer and Hank, if you could imagine everything that he went through at the time that he played, and you know what a lot of people don't realize, he broke Babe Ruth's record, right? Imagine, back in that time when he broke the record of how much hatred and racism and discrimination he had to go through. And he had to have all kind of security when he broke that record. And he stood tall. He's an activist as well. And Hank Aaron.
Kevin Cameron celebrating Juneteenth. Coach Hoyd, what you got, Coach?
Oh, man, you guys just dropping some straight nuggets here, okay? I'm telling you. Freshmen make diamonds. I'm telling you. First of all, I salute the panel, everyone here, Juneteenth. This is dope. This is a dope panel. I'm encouraged. I'm ready to work, put some more work in for Juneteenth. So that's what's up. Yeah. But I want to give you guys, I'm going to throw you guys a curve here. One of the most iconic pictures I ever seen in my life was Mean Joe Green handing a white kid a bottle of Coke. Okay? That's how you break racism. And lastly, I got to welcome back the president, Mr. President Reggie Bush, back to the USC family. The NCAA came in. The biggest thugs on the block allowed that young man, and USC allowed that man to come back. They know what's going on. They make billions and billions of dollars, and they let that man come back. I'm excited about that. USC is going to have an opportunity to make a big push to be a national presence here on the West Coast and increase, every little kid's dream of being the best running back in the country.
Yeah, no doubt. Got Coach Hoyd celebrating Juneteenth. Yo, I got to put it out there like this. You're actually making an impact. So I salute all of you today celebrating Juneteenth because I think that's what it's all about. All of us coming together because unity moving forward from this point forward for everybody is going to be key.
Urban Media Today talks sports every week on Urban Media Today Radio, where you can listen in on free music and podcasts on our SoundCloud station at Urban Media Today. And for more information, log on to urbanmediatoday.com, your lifestyle, entertainment, and sports blog website.
What type of games being played? How's it doing that? I get up, all right?